Hello, everyone. I see a bunch of people jumping in, so I will give it just another moment. Okay. I'm Michelle from Consolidated Planning Group. I'm so glad that you're all here. We have a fantastic speaker today. Tenika Combs is an education advocate. We're going to be talking today about why you need someone like her in your life. And why financial planning for special needs families is so important. So a couple of things before we jump into the program today. We are recording this webinar and we will email the link to you later on today, as well as the slides. You'll get those in whatever email address you registered for this webinar with. So we should be here for about an hour. We can't see you or hear you. So feel free to enjoy your lunch, your snacks, whatever. And any questions or comments that you have, please put those in the chat box. That way we can get to as many of your questions and comments as possible during the time that we have here today. So again, I am Michelle Morris from Consolidated Planning Group. We are a holistic special needs financial planning firm. We help families all across the United States, even though we are located just outside of Houston in the Sugar Land, Texas area. We are able to serve families all across Texas and all across the United States. We've been doing this for over 30 years. And, it's not just something that we do once in a while. Helping families with a loved one who have some kind of intellectual or developmental disabilities is all we do all the time. We live this and breathe it. 90-something% of our clients have a loved one with a disability. So you are truly in the right place when you come and speak with us at Consolidated Planning Group. We are experts in this field. We are members of the Special Needs Planning Academy. We are also National Social Security Advisors, and I am a chartered special needs consultant through the American College of Financial Services. So we really had made this our entire company. And families come to us for things like protection plans. What if the main breadwinner in your family becomes disabled themselves and can't work, or they pass away too early? What would happen in those situations? What about lifetime care planning for your loved one? Once you pass away, they're still going to be around and they're still going to need help if they cannot be completely independent. What does that look like? We can help you figure that out. We do a lot of transition planning. There are 3 big transition periods in your loved ones' lives. When they turn 18 and all of a sudden they're an adult in the eyes of the law, that changes a lot. When they graduate from high school, and they're looking for what comes next after high school. That's a big transition phase. And then later in life, hopefully, when you're looking for a place for your child to move out of your home and into a residential community or a group home or a relative's house, whatever the situation may be. That's another big transition period. So we try to help people out with those big areas. Of course, we do ABLE accounts. We help you understand your special needs benefits like SSI and Medicaid, SSDI and Medicare, the waiver programs for your state, all of those different pieces of the puzzle. And again, we are here to advocate for you and to educate you so that you can ignore all the noise out there and really get to the heart of what is important that you do right away. And it's important that you work with an expert. There are a lot of small rules and regulations and nuances that you need to know about. And most financial advisors do not focus on this area of planning. So out of the 263,000 financial advisors across the United States, fewer than 200 of us focus on special needs planning. That's less than 0.1% of all of the advisors across the United States focusing on special needs planning. So you are truly in the right space when you are here with us at Consolidated Planning Group. So we love presenting these fantastic educational webinars to you. Again, this will be recorded. You'll receive a link to the recording later on today. And any questions or comments that you have as we're going through this, if you would please put those in the chat box, we'll get to as many of your questions and comments as we possibly can. So I don't want to take any more time away from Tenika. She is a fantastic speaker, and she's going to be talking today about why you need a special education advocate. So take it away, Tenika. Thank you for being here. You're muted.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yes,
Awesome,
absolutely.
awesome.
It
Thank
wouldn't be
you.
a day in our life around here if it weren't for trying to talk while we were muted, huh?
Right, right. Well, thank you so much for inviting me. This is definitely a topic that's very near and dear to my heart on why do you need a special education advocate. So just a little bit of details about who Got Advocacy is and who I am. I am a special education advocate. My name is Tenika Combs. I founded Got Advocacy in 2013, but not only am I an advocate, but I'm also a parent. So I have a 22-year-old on the spectrum that we've walked this journey of transition. And more so, I'm more than just an advocate. So I do specialize with transition services as providing those individuals a plan. I refer a lot to you guys because you are the missing link that a lot of individuals have to get that special needs planning in place. So I sit down with families and make sure that they're on track to develop a plan of transition, making sure they're connecting all the dots. And we're also vocational specialists through to help them through that transition phase of post-secondary. What happens next? We help them with that job development, identify their career explorations, and see what do I want to do when I actually adult, and provide them those tips and tools to learn how to disclose their disability and request reasonable accommodations and all the things. So there's more to just special education advocate, but we're here to advocate on a lot of different platforms, making sure that a lot of these individuals are getting the supports that they need. So simply put, you really just don't know what you don't know. So I hear a lot of people say, well, why do I even need an advocate? Sometimes if you know the rules to the game, it helps you to play the game a little bit better. And unfortunately, special education feels like a game at times. So can you go to the next slide? So hiring a special education advocate, it empowers families to navigate all the complexities of the education system and advocates effectively for your child. If you've been in an IEP before, it feels like sometimes you're in alphabet soup. There's a lot of acronyms. A lot of times you're in those meetings, and there's a lot of times where those facilitators are talking over your head without explaining some of the lingo that needs to be explained and the terminology, different rules, and just knowing what your rights are. So we bridge the gap between parents and schools, fostering that collaboration and understanding the benefits that children have and need with special needs. I spent a lot of time in those phases where families are like leaving ABA for the first time, getting into school for the first time, and what does that transition look like? So I actually help them establish like planning meetings with the school prior to, so you can bring your behavior therapist in on that conversation, have the school special education personnel involved so that that transition is very cohesive. And the schools actually love that. So a lot of times we hear about advocates, and it feels like someone called the police, right? And it's not always that case. We're here to be part of a liaison and a support for that family, but also for the schools as well. So we're here to help them with that transition and make sure everybody's on the same page. So with the special education advocates, you gain you gain knowledge, and we can help you secure a lot of those resources. My background is case management, so I've worked in some of the waiver programs as a case manager. So I understand a lot of the lingo that parents are hearing for the first time, especially in situation when it's my child just got diagnosed. We're just going through the special education process for the first time. We have no idea what we're doing here. That's why you need an advocate. So we're here to provide the help and the support that family needs to get your child the help that they deserve. So we're definitely advocates or champions for education, justice, and ensuring that no child is left behind due to the learning differences. So there's a lot of platforms. A lot of times individuals see special education advocates like myself. I'm definitely trying to find out what's going on the local level with TEA. What are some of the new regulations going to the state, seeing what some of where the funding is coming from that we need to help us to get to where we need to be to get those supports that we need for our kiddos. So we bring the expertise in special education, making sure that you understand the laws and the regulation, helping families access services legally mandated for their child. A lot of times we go into special education ARD meetings and they say, hey, did you get this safeguards? Can you sign that you received? That's them saying that we check the box. And we let you know what your rules are. We let you know what your rights are. But a lot of times families are so overwhelmed, who's reading it? Who understands half of the lingo in there? And if nothing else you get out of anything today, when you're handed that book, please read it from start to finish. Please, you will learn so much on how to advocate for your child. So hiring a special education advocate, it empowers families to be effective advocates for their future. We're here to make sure we're helping you make informed decisions so that those choices that they're giving you, like you're an alphabet soup, and then they're giving you new acronyms for different placement for your child and the least restrictive environment and all the different goals. And you're wondering, does this all make sense? And how does this grading scale work? My child is getting straight A's and in geometry, but yet they don't know how to count to 100. So it's all of the things. So learning what the modifications are with grading and all of the different things, there's a lot of complexities when it comes to special education. So advocates are dedicated to promoting inclusion and diversity in education and creating a more acceptive and supportive learning environment. But not only that, we're definitely there to be that voice to make sure that your child is being able to be included in some of those activities that the other individuals that are not in special education are able to be involved in. And that's just making sure that parents understand what those supports look like. Your child can be included in some of those extracurriculum activities that happen. And that's the biggest part. So we want to make sure that we're all inclusive. And not only that, having an advocate with you, it's like having a SPED BFF, because it is very crazy and scary when you go in there. Because let me tell you, your emotions take control before the rules and regulations even register for you. So sometimes you have to get past that emotional state to get to a really proactive place where you're saying, okay, now I got the tools that I need to be able to advocate and the support that I need to make sure that my kiddos getting the supports they need. So we serve as a voice for many of those who may not have one. So ensuring that every child's potential is recognized and nurtured. A lot of times we're in special education, we're in ARD meetings where no one has ever met the child before. They have never seen the child before, and they're making suggestions and recommendations about their progress and their goals, and they've never spent time with these individuals. So we're there to ensure that that child is being heard, because somebody needs to be listening to what they really are trying to say, even though they don't have, some of them may not have verbal language, but they still have rights to be heard. So special education advocates help schools understand the unique strengths and the needs of each child, leading to more effective teaching strategies. We spend a lot of time in those meetings hearing about rating scales and all of these charts and all of these things that really don't magnify what my child does great. So we're here to make sure that your child's superpower is showcased in those meetings and that they can be educated according to their strengths. And those areas that they have weaknesses, we're providing the tools and the accommodations in place to make sure we're helping to develop those areas where they need a little bit more support. So by hiring an advocate, parents gain access to a wealth of knowledge and experience in navigating the special education system. In my experience, I'm not just telling you some of the things. I've walked through a lot of these doors with you. I walked through these personally, so that makes it a little bit more vested personal experience, and then to have the professional expertise to go along with it. So, I try to give all the information that I can possibly give. I'm very big on community and very big on connecting families to the resources and supports in the community, because this is a big spectrum of supports that individuals that are receiving special education need. So they need supports inside of the school and outside of the school. And a lot of times I'm trying to figure out, how can we marry the two? So I do try to connect with a lot of amazing providers, especially with Consolidated, because you guys are amazing. And
Oh,
so you
thank you
are
so
one of the
much.
keys to get through to transition.
Well, thank you very much for that.
Absolutely. So we're committed to breaking down barriers and stereotypes, fostering a culture of acceptance and understanding. And I will say, one of my pet peeves, one of my biggest pet peeves, is when I'm ever in an ARD meeting and they copy, cut, and pasted someone's information from someone else's ARD. It drives me nuts. I'm like, did I just read another kid's name on these documents? It
Mhm.
happens. So we're there to make sure that we're not comparing our kids to other kids. We're there to make sure that their individualized, specialized needs are being addressed and being supported.
Isn't that the first letter in the IEP? Isn't that what that means, individual?
Yes, that is, well, it's supposed to be what it means.
Mhm.
So with the special education advocate, parents have a dedicated partner in the pursuit of their child's educational success. So sometimes it's just great to feel like someone's hearing me. Someone understands, and someone's willing to lock arms with me and go through this journey with me. It's not easy. And we are definitely always battling supports and services and access to them, wait lists, and all of the things. So you definitely need a confidant while you're going through the process. So advocates play a vital role in creating a brighter future for children with special needs, where their talents and abilities are celebrated. I'm always looking for ways to spread positive awareness for individuals that have disabilities. They have some amazing superpowers. We're not tapping into them enough. And so we try to use these experiences in any kind of sessions to, magnify what they're great at. I always ask my parents, like, what is your child's superpower? And we help to discover that, because sometimes if they're newly diagnosed, we're just figuring those things out.
Oop, I went too quick. I'm sorry.
So that is me. That is all things Got Advocacy, special education advocate. I do a lot of educating for families. I do a parent workshop that actually helps families develop a strategic plan for transition of any age, of any stage, whether you're transitioning into school for the first time, or you're coming up to that ripe age of 18 and you're transitioning out of high school, or you're really into adulthood and now what's the next? Because at the end of the day, I'm here to equip you, because we're not going to always be here. Parents, we're not going to be here for the long haul all the time, because things happen, situations happen. That's why it's very important that we have these collaborations, because what Consolidated Planning Group does is amazing. It helps you to be prepared for the unexpected. And when you have a plan, it doesn't hurt so bad. It may hurt a little bit, but it doesn't hurt so bad if you're prepared along the way and you have partners that are there to support you through that process. So that's all things Got Advocacy. If you need to reach me, my website is www.gotadvocacy.org, and I can be reached at Tenika at gotadvocacy.org. You can follow us on Facebook at Got Advocacy and on Instagram at Got Advocacy _advocate. So that is Got Advocacy, your special education advocate in all things transition.
So Tenika, do you work mostly over Zoom or in person with families, and where do you work?
So a little bit of both. So I do have a little hybrid model. I do have an office that's actually a classroom setting where I do teach classes. I do workshops and I do trainings with our individuals that have disabilities. My office is located at 350 Nursery Road in the Woodlands area. I'm in
Okay.
Suite 1102. And so I am housed inside of a community called Living Holistic. And it's a holistic practitioners co-work space. But I do webinars, I do virtual services. I do attend in-person ARD meetings if needed. So I have a little hybrid model. So I'm definitely here to meet the needs of the individuals. And so whatever the capacity, some people are comfortable, having those meetings over Zoom, but sometimes they just want that personal touch. And I'm there for that as well.
Okay. And what pricing is, I mean, is yours a paid service? Are there advocates that don't have to be paid? What does that look like?
So there are several different areas. So we do have advocates that are with nonprofit organizations. So you can go to like Family to Family Network. Those type of individuals, they are definitely there to serve, to educate you and things like that. There are situations where some of the insurance companies like Texas Children under their health plan, they may have some advocacy services that are more like providing you the educational information.
Mhm.
But my services are actually private pay and they're very reasonable. My services start at $250. So I'm here to be a reasonable support for families because I am definitely trying to be a me that I needed for me when I was in the process. And so there's a lot of resources online too. If you just want to get some tips and tools on my website, I do have a lot of resources that I share that can help you as well. If you're like, I just need some information.
Mhm.
I do a free introductory call. So everybody on the line, they can give me a call and we can actually I can walk you through a free call where we can decide what is the best supports that you need at this time and how to best service you or what's the best referral that I can provide you.
Wonderful, wonderful. I just love what you do so much, and it's so important, especially now. Rules and regulations change
A
all the
lot.
time, and keeping up with those things is so very important. So do you, for your practice, is it a one-time fee and then you complete the project, or is it like ongoing, every meeting is a fee? How does that work?
So I do have a couple of service packages. And so
Mhm.
I have one package with where individuals say, I just need that one-time consult. I just need you to be there for the meeting and help me get through that meeting. And then I also have a family support plan, which is a 4-month plan. And in that plan, they get 4 90-minute sessions to use, whether it's finding support for advocacy, helping with that transition, developing a strategic plan, or if it's, hey, I just need you to review some documents for me. I don't have any like extra filler charges. There are some advocates that charge, I hear that they charge like a fee for everything. I have a bundled package. And so I have a 4-month plan that's designed to get families through the bulk of the school year. Because if you're starting out the school year and you have to make some tweaks to your to your services and support, we got to reconvene in ARD, we got to come back and all of the things, you still have a package that supports that.
That is great. And just an FYI to everybody out there, your ABLE account and your special needs trust can be used to pay for services like this because it's something that you are paying for your child. So if you've got an ABLE account or a special needs trust already set up, yes, you can absolutely use those to pay for these services. Now, Tamika, do your services include providing perspectives on different schools within the area, in the Houston area, like based on your experiences with different schools and different districts? Can you tell parents confidentially, of course, what better schools are and where to kind of stay away from if they're not there yet?
Um, I don't have a bias, but I will say, so I actually work with service. I support schools in all the Houston surrounding areas. So I can be in Texas City, I can be in Montgomery County, I can be in Katy. I service all of the metropolitan and the area of Houston. And I will say this, every family's experience is going to be different. Remember, we're talking about an individualized education plan. There are going to be some setups where I do have some experience with certain districts, and I have certain better experiences with other districts. So I do provide you with that knowledge as well. Because some people are like, I just don't know where to put my kiddo. I don't know what's the best school district. And sometimes we're bound by like where we currently live. And you don't want to uproot everybody and say, oh, we're going to move over here because I heard on a group on social media that this school is the best school or this district is the best district. Remember, special education is not a place, it's a service, and it's an individualized educational plan to best suit your child's needs. So that's why it's so important that you make sure that you have a very good working plan
Yeah,
for your
yeah.
child.
That's what I used to before my life in financial advising. I used to be a teacher, and parents would ask that sort of thing all the time. Well, what's the best school in the neighborhood, or where should I send my children? And really, the truth of it is that it's more up to you as a parent than it is up to the schools and their rankings and their teachers, because so much has to come from home. You have to be involved and you have to be there for your children. You have to be their advocates. That's what's going to help them be productive, is the stuff
Absolutely.
that you do at home. Even if they're in the best school, it can be undermined by having parents at home who refuse to do homework with children, right? Or things like that. It's the same thing with an educational advocate. It's the same thing.
And let me add to that too, because I would say one of the things that, I hear that all the time, but we have to remember that the education system on a whole is going through some shakeups, because you
Mhm.
have teachers that they're leaving because of the wages and things like that. And so it's being hard for a lot of schools to find the right individuals to come and work at the schools. And a lot of teachers they transition, and the good ones always leave.
Mhm.
That's
Yeah.
the unfortunate thing about it. And so just making sure that you're establishing those relationships and you're being connected, you're getting that communication, and you're staying on track of what's going on with your child's progress. That's the biggest thing. Like you said, you have to be there. You're a partner. You are part of the committee. Parents need to know when they hear about an ARD committee, you are one of the voting members of your child's plan. You don't always have to agree. And there are times where you're not going to agree. And that's when the fight comes in. But you
Mm.
have those rights to not agree with what's going on. And there's options for your child's education.
Now, we have a question in the chat box. If you know of any advocates in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, but could you work with families there?
I can work with families in the DFW area, that's virtually. Um, I can definitely work in that area as well.
Okay, okay, great. Yeah, so this has been fantastic information. Some other things that we hope that you'll keep in mind when you're thinking about planning for the future for your loved ones is starting as early as possible, building out those relationships, and keeping your loved one at the heart of that so that they know who their support circle is too. I find that many parents build these support targets. There's your individual family, your close family and friends, your service providers, and your paid support system. But so often they keep their children just in that initial circle and away from everybody else. And then when it's time for those paid support partners to come in, your child doesn't even know who they are. And that's a little bit intimidating for them. So make sure that you're planning early and getting your child involved. The sooner that you start planning for the financial future of taking care of your loved one, the smaller the changes can be and the bigger impact they can have. If you wait until your child is an adult and you are in your 60s or 70s, all of a sudden, the timeline is short when you're looking at it that way. When you start early, you have a lot more impact on your financial future. So get started. Consider what's going to happen after high school. Speak with someone like Tenika to look at what vocational and residential and educational options are out there after high school. You certainly don't want your loved one to just graduate to the couch. You want them to, have a fulfilling, productive life, whatever that looks like for them. So it might be educational options, it might be residential options, it might be vocational options. Some of these programs and communities can fill up quickly. So we recommend that you do tour the programs early and make sure that, if you find the right place or the right program for your loved one, you have them on a wait list if there is one, so that when that spot opens up for them, they can get in there. We always want to remind people to just be very careful when you assume that a family member is going to step in, a sibling is going to step in and take care of your loved one. Of course, it seems very easy for that just to be the natural flow of things, but it can cause a lot of resentment and a sense of obligation from both parties, because it might not be right for the child who is going to become the caregiver. At that point, of course, they want to help their loved ones. They want to help their siblings, but they might have their own situations that they're taking care of, their own families and careers. And this is a lot to take on. Maybe they might feel a sense of obligation in that relationship. And on the other hand, your loved one who needs the care, they've seen their sibling as a friend and a confidant and a partner in crime, maybe for all of these years. And now this person is going to step into the role of caregiver where it might seem like they're trying to act as a parent. And, your individual might say, you're my sister, you're not my mom, you can't control me. And it could create a sense of resentment there from their perspective as well. So just be careful with that dynamic.
And Michelle, I wanted to add to that, it's
Please
some
do.
you can invite family members to our meetings. If you have a sibling that we always just assume that I have adult children too. So under duress, you always hear your kids saying, I'm gonna take care of my brother, I'm gonna take care of my sister. Let's invite them to an art meeting. They can be part of the meeting. They can hear what's going on because it's harder for you to tell them what's going on if they're not hearing it.
Right, exactly, exactly. That's such a good tip. I mean, if you really think that a sibling or another family member is going to step in once you're gone, getting those people involved now and making sure that that's part of what I was trying to say about making sure your loved one is involved in getting to know their support system. Make sure your support system knows your child and their needs as well. It's so very important. So we do these webinars 2 or 3 times a week, sometimes even more, sometimes less. But generally, we are aiming to just cover as many topics as we can that are going to be helpful for families. This is a listing of some of the things that we think you should keep on your radar. And of course, as families request certain topics from us, we're happy to do presentations on those. We talk a lot about the future cost of care, different programs, both federally and state programs to help your loved ones, SSI and SSDI, Medicare, Medicaid, ABLE accounts, all of those things you need to know about. How to designate beneficiaries and leave money to a special needs trust so that your money that you're trying to leave for your loved one to help them with their life and pay for things for them won't actually disqualify them from getting benefits. Another thing to think about is child support. Child support will be counted against your loved one if they receive child support beyond age 18. And you do need that help, that income, that resource from your from the co-parent, the other parent. But you don't want to jeopardize any of the benefits that can be available to your child. So child support does need to go to a first party special needs trust. Again, guardianship, and there are many alternatives to full guardianship. Those things need to be done through an attorney. And you can begin talking about guardianship when you're within about 6 months of your child turning 18. There's no hard deadline for guardianship, but if that is in your future, you want to um, get started on that. So we do cover a lot of very helpful topics, and you can use this link on this slide to go straight to a listing of all of our upcoming webinars. If you register for those, again, we do record all of our webinars and send those to our YouTube channel. Later in the day, we send you a link so that you can watch those recordings later on. This is our entire team. Again, we are based in Sugar Land, just outside of Houston. What I really love is that we're independent. We're a small company, so that anytime you call us, you're literally just calling our cell phones. We know who you are. We are excited to talk to you. You don't have to push, 1 for English or Spanish, or 2 to get to the right department, or 3 to tell us about your child. We know who you are. There's a very limited number of us that you're calling. And finally, we do offer, just like Tenika does, a free consultation. Ours is over Zoom. It typically takes between 30 to 45 minutes, depending on how many questions you have. And we really aim in this free consultation to answer your questions, whatever questions you have up front about planning for your loved one. And then we talk to you about, what advice we might give to someone like you. And then we can talk about our planning options, how we get paid and what we do, and what those costs associated would be. So please, you can use the QR code here. You can call our office or email the office, or you can call or email me directly. I'm going to put my contact info in the chat box again so that you can reach out to me directly if you would like to schedule an appointment with us. I can get you on the calendar. Of course, this page also features our social media, our YouTube channel, Instagram. We have a podcast, and we have our Facebook page where we keep you up to date on everything going on and all of our helpful webinars. So please do reach out to us. I promise we don't bite. We would love for everybody to schedule their free consultation and get their questions answered. So without I don't see any further questions in the chat box or anything like that. Tenika, do you have any parting words of wisdom or advice for our families for today?
I would just encourage you to get connected with a resource and stay in the fight. There's a lot to it. A lot of times we get overwhelmed, but I do promise you this, that if you have a plan, as she said, if you get a plan in place, it doesn't hurt so bad. Transition is very uncomfortable. Adulthood is very uncomfortable. I know some parents may be on here that have younger kiddos and they're like, I don't want to hear about adulthood because I can barely get through potty training. But it's a real thing. And the earlier you plan for it, the better the outcomes are. The better the outcomes are. So you got to get started. You got to get started. So I just encourage everybody to definitely reach out. There's a ton of resources on my website. I do workshops and I do trainings a lot. And if you just feel like I just want to attend a workshop, I do have workshops, and they're half of the time they're free. So definitely jump in there and just get connected with a resource.
Wonderful. Thank you so much again for being here with us today, Tenika. Thank you to all of the participants who took their time to watch our webinar today. You will receive a link to this webinar in your email box later on today, and you should receive all the slides as well. If you have any further questions, I look forward to speaking with you. Everybody, enjoy the rest of the week. Have a great afternoon, and I hope I get to talk to you soon. Thanks a lot, everybody. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.